After spending 12 hours on the sleeper train from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, we're ready to spend the entire day exploring the old town, including visiting many of the hundreds of temples, trying some delicious food and visiting some of the other top sites. And plus, at the end of the video, we'll break down our full spend for the entire day. Good morning guys, and we are currently making our way from our accommodation to the old town. Where we are staying is called Canary House, and it is about a 700-800 meter walk from the old town, so it's a perfect location, super quiet. But we are heading to the old town where we will be spending the entire day. We can't wait to explore all the different temples and things like that, enjoy some food out because we can afford to eat out here, which is amazing. Now we are both in our what we call our temple attire today, which is covered shoulders and covered knees. If you are a lady and wishing to visit the temples here in Chiang Mai or even Bangkok and the rest of Thailand, you will need to cover your shoulders and your knees. Thailand is a largely Buddhist country and you are expected to cover shoulders and knees when going into their places of worship. If you do forget, there are some temples that may offer you a sarong or something like that, but I would not rely on that. Now, the historic old town of Chiang Mai is about 1 square mile, which means it's not super big, which makes it the perfect place to do a self-guided walking tour, which is what we're going to do. Spend the entire day within that 1 square mile, and it's definitely a much quieter place than the hustle and bustle of Bangkok, which is why a lot of tourists end up spending a lot more time here. Now, once we cross over this body of water behind me, we will officially be in the old town. And first up, we've definitely got to get some breakfast, and I've got a particular place in mind. And stop one for breakfast is the Bagel House. So we've come to Bagel House for our breakfast today. Now, bagels and other Western food tend to be a bit more expensive in Thailand in general, not just in Chiang Mai, because it's Western food. But this Bagel House is known for being pretty affordable for breakfast, so that's why we've come here for stop one of the day. Now, it is super cheap, but funnily enough, it'll probably be our most expensive meal of the day, which is crazy. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video for that price breakdown of what we spent today.
So I've gone with the avocado, cheese and egg bagel, and Stace went with the bacon, egg and cheese bagel. Mine was 135 baht and Stace was 145 baht. Now we'll convert those to AUD and USD at the end of the video, but let me just give you a little bit of a teaser. It's not expensive, but you can go even cheaper if you want to, where you get the bagel with just spreads like Nutella or peanut butter, which sounded really appetizing, but I'm pretty hungry and we got a lot of walking to do, so I thought that I should kind of fuel myself. That's the only reason I spent a little bit more.
Sure, jam.
And there are heaps of different bagels to choose from as well. Me and Stace pretty plain, so we went with plain, but there's like sesame seed, poppy seed, you name it. And I gotta tell you, it's bringing me back to the time we were in New York and we went to the bagel place there, had some of the best bagels of our life. If you haven't seen that video and you'd like to, I'll put that video up there.
It's so rare on this trip that we have a warm breakfast. It's really hitting the spot, especially before it gets too hot outside.
Same time and place tonight.
Those bagels were absolutely incredible. That's one of the best breakfasts we've had in a very long time.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about Chiang Mai is obviously Thailand is known for having very affordable and budget-friendly food, whether it be at street vendors or at night markets and things like that. But something we love about Chiang Mai is you can get such a cheap meal at a sit-down restaurant. Now, we went out twice yesterday, once for lunch, once for dinner. Our lunch cost us about $8.50 Australian. We both got a curry each with rice and a soft drink. And then I think our dinner was about $12, again, a meal each, and we each got like a smoothie. So it's just so affordable to actually sit down at a restaurant. And like obviously the street food is there, the markets are there, and that's probably even cheaper, which is just mind-blowing.
We have made it to stop number 1 on our self-guided walking tour around the old city of Chiang Mai, and we are here at the Three Kings Monument. Now the statue shows the king of Chiang Mai. He was the founder of Chiang Mai, and the other 2 men are his friends who were also kings, I think. And the 3 of them back in the 1200s built Chiang Mai.
Now there is a kind of daily process called the giving of the alms here in Chiang Mai, generally between dusk till about 7-8 a.m, where all the monks will kind of line the streets, particularly around the Three Kings Monument. It's meant to be a very common spot to do the giving of the alms, and essentially they walk around and take alms from the people. And now the belief behind the giving of the alms and taking the alms as merit is that it will reduce the number of times they have to be reincarnated before they reach enlightened nirvana.
And just in front of the statue there's a table with various different things like drinks, food, and I think that these are offerings for the kings in exchange for a blessing.
From what I've read, there are not a lot of museums in Chiang Mai, but if you are looking for one, there is one which is the Chiang Mai City Museum, directly across from the Three Kings Monument. Now there are many, many, many temples here in Chiang Mai. In fact, I believe there are over 300 different temples, with a lot of them sitting here in the old city. So we'll be visiting a lot of them today. The first one we are visiting is called Wat Chedi Luang, which is known as the Temple of the Fortified City, and is the oldest temple here in Chiang Mai. All these temples, we visited Chiang Mai about 7 years ago and visited a lot of these then, and they're so beautiful, such intricate detail both on the inside and the outside, so we can't wait to show you some of our favourites. Now, we hope you're enjoying this video, but make sure you stay tuned for parts 2 and 3 because we've got so much more left to explore in Chiang Mai. In part 2, we've got to take you through all the amazing food we've been eating, and in part 3, we're going to do a cooking class because if you're going to eat all the Thai food, we better learn how to make it. So make sure you stay tuned for parts 2 and 3. So behind us is our first glimpse of the wall. Yes, the wall that used to surround all of the Chiang Mai Old Town. I believe it was built in the 1200s to protect the original town of Chiang Mai. Now, during World War II, when the Japanese occupied Chiang Mai, most of the wall was knocked down so the bricks could be used for other purposes. And then during the 1900s, something that's really cool is Chiang Mai decided to rebuild the 4 corners of the wall, as well as I think 5 of the original gates. So this is the northern gate, also known as the White Elephant Gate, and they actually built them off photos from the 1800s, so they're pretty close replicas of what it originally looked like. Okay, we've now come to our next temple, Wat Hua Kuang. Now, this is not anything super special in terms of being the oldest or the newest or the most famous. It's just beautiful, really. You're going to be so templed out by the end of your time in Chiang Mai, but it's so hard to skip any of them. We've been looking at a self-guided walking tour and picking which ones we want to do, and every time we see a photo we're like, oh no, we can't skip that one, it's too beautiful. So Wat Hua Kuang is our next one. It's super close to the White Elephant Gate, just around the corner, and absolutely beautiful. And if you've watched any of our videos, you know we love a walkable city. Now, there is obviously lots to do in Chiang Mai outside of the old town, but in exploring the old town, it's so fantastic just to be able to walk and explore everything. All the temples are so close together, which makes it really easy to see lots of them, even if you don't go inside and just pop into the grounds, which is why we'll be able to visit so many during our day here.
The bells on the rooftops are ringing by themselves.
There are so many temples in Chiang Mai's old town that even just from walking from one to the other, you'll pass probably at least 2 others that you don't plan on stopping in. They're just everywhere and they're all really beautiful, so you kind of have to pick and choose which ones you want to explore a little bit further, but hopefully we make some good suggestions today. But they're all just so beautiful, and definitely when visiting Chiang Mai, even if visiting temples is not necessarily something you enjoy too much, it's definitely something you have to at least visit a couple. We have now come to Wat Rajamontean, which was one of my absolute favourites when we came to Chiang Mai about 7 years ago. I just love the architecture here. It is absolutely beautiful. You have this outdoor giant Buddha statue, which is so beautiful with the gold, and then the temple itself just has so much intricate detail. It's absolutely beautiful. Definitely one of my favourites here in Chiang Mai. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you are wanting to see more exclusive content, check out the link to our Patreon in the description below. We'd love to have you. Now, we've visited a few temples so far this morning, and I have a few hot tips from me to you. First one is, in all the temples you will have to take off your shoes to go inside. Even if there's no one there, there are signs saying please take off your shoes. So wear shoes that are easy to take on and off, like sandals or slip-on shoes or something like that, because I'm sure you'll get very sick of undoing and tying up your shoes again, like Rosh. I was wearing sneakers today. Second hot tip is it is very hot in Chiang Mai, as it is in Thailand, so if you are female and needing to cover your shoulders, like me, I would maybe wear a singlet and then bring a shirt or something you can slip on over the top to go inside the temples. That way when you're walking between your stops, you can take that off and cool down a little bit. And now third tip, kind of just information, is that most temples you will not have to pay to enter, which is really good. There are a few of the bigger and main ones where you will have to pay to enter, but it is very cheap and affordable. Fourth tip, He said it is, again, to do with the heat. It is very hot in Chiang Mai, so I'd recommend starting your walking tour or temple tour as early in the day as you can to avoid a lot of the heat. I believe most of the temples are open from about 6 a.m, so starting as early as possible, and you can knock a few of those off your list before it gets too hot. Now, tip number 5 from me to you is that if you are wanting to do a bit of a tour around the old town and you are not as mobile as others, or the thought of walking around in 30-degree heat does not really appeal to you, which is fair enough, you can always jump in a tuk-tuk. They will mostly offer you around 60 baht for an hour and take you around the old town, so that is always an option as well.
And after a busy morning of walking around sightseeing, it's now time for us to get some lunch, and we're in a line, believe it or not, at a place that says found online. It has amazing reviews, so we think it's worth waiting in the line. It's called It's Good Kitchen, and I'm hoping it's going to be some good food. And the good news is that it's only about 100 meters away from Wat Hua Kuang, which is going to be the next temple we go to, but first some lunch.
We've been seated at the very front of the restaurant, and they have like these vistas for people waiting out the front because it often has a line. In fact, it gets so busy they make you take a number like at the deli. Because of like the wind and the way the fans are shifting as well, it's coming right on us, which is very refreshing. It'll be interesting when our food comes and it gets all wet, but...
That lunch was some of the best food we've had in all of Thailand so far, and that is saying something because we haven't had any bad food, but that place, you have to go there if you're coming to Chiang Mai, especially if you're going to visit the temple too, because it's so close. Why not? Stace had the cow soy, which we've never had before, but she put it well. She said it's like Thailand's version of ramen, and it was delicious. She said it's the best meal she's had in Thailand so far. And I had the pad krapao with chicken, so it's essentially basil and chili chicken, but very little chili upon request, and they obliged. It was not spicy at all. Thinking that it was going to be spicy, I ordered a banana smoothie too, just to help me along the way. Wasn't necessary, but it was very, very delicious. And seeing as we're so close to Wat Hua Kuang, I think it's time we go and check it out. We've now made it to Wat Hua Kuang, which is by far one of the most visited temples here in Chiang Mai, and you can tell there's a lot of people here compared to the other temples we visited this morning. But this is a very impressive temple. It's over 700 years old, and I was reading the sign at the front and I came across an interesting fact, I suppose. The giant Buddha symbol or image on the inside ended up here because years and years ago it was being transported to Chiang Mai as a gift to give to the king, and the chariot that it was transported on broke down, and they just kind of left it here in this temple. So it's been here ever since, and I suppose the temple wouldn't be the same without it now. Go, go, go! Sprinklers are on a rotational system. This is the only way to get there. Oh, it got me bad. I was defeated, what can I say? My opponent was very worthy, very deceiving, and cannot outrun the sprinkler.
So the Wat Hua Kuang complex here in Chiang Mai is one of the most popular, as Rosh said, to visit in Chiang Mai, and it's home to hundreds of Buddhist monks. Now there are several different structures on the site. You have the main hall, has the large gold Buddha, which many mistake as the Lion Buddha, as Wat Hua Kuang is known as the Temple of the Lion Buddha. That is not, however, the Lion Buddha. If you come around to the left and there is a building at the back, that is home of the Lion Buddha, which is a bit smaller, but said to be the holiest icon in Chiang Mai because of where it came from. It came from the Mahabodhi temple in Bodh Gaya, so I don't know if I'm saying that right, Bodh Gaya, India, which is where Buddha is said to have gained his enlightenment. So it's definitely the holiest icon in Chiang Mai, and why many people come here to Wat Hua Kuang.
Now we've made it to our final temple of the day. It is Wat Chedi Luang, and believe it or not, it is the only temple we've had to pay entry to today, and it was 50 baht each, so not a lot at all. But it's this huge kind of complex area with multiple different temples, and I think that this is where you can do monk chat. Right behind me is the Chiang Mai landmark tree, and if I read the sign correctly, this tree is over 200 years old, which is super impressive. And here at Wat Chedi Luang, you will find the tallest structure in all of Old Town Chiang Mai. It is this brick pagoda known as the Great Stupa, and believe it or not, it used to actually be even taller. I think its highest height was around 275 feet. That is until a massive earthquake hit in the 1500s, bringing it down to I think 197 feet, which is still pretty tall enough that you can actually see its peak behind buildings when you're far away, like in the old town of Chiang Mai. Sorry, I got distracted by a really cute dog. But it's an incredible structure to look at. It has elephants coming out of the building on one of the lower levels. I think some are missing because it is so old. I believe it was built in the 1300s, so it's fairly old. It's absolutely massive, and I think it's coped with time pretty well. I found another massive tree. So as I mentioned, here at this temple there is something called monk chat, where you can sit down with some of the monks and have a discussion, like a Q&A I suppose, where you can ask them questions and they answer you. So we got to talking to two monks here. One of the guys we were speaking to had been a monk since he was 15 years old. It's a very cool experience because it's obviously very first-hand. You're asking direct questions to a monk and getting like first-hand experience answers. So if you are in Chiang Mai, I definitely recommend putting monk chat on your list.
It's also a free experience. You can make a donation if you want, but it is a bit of a both parties win, because the monks are wanting to practice their English, which is why they volunteer to do it, and then in return you can ask some monks some questions you've been dying to know about being a monk and Buddhism. So after a bit of a break at our hotel, it is time for some dinner, and we're of course back in the old town, and we've actually come back to a place that we came for lunch yesterday because we loved it so much that we thought we've got to bring you guys along. And we've come to a place called Lucky 2. It is here in the old town. It's absolutely delicious Thai food. It does have some Western options as well. Thai food is super affordable, delicious, so a great place to come for dinner.
Pretty clouds.
Now, hot tip, if you are not good with spice, yellow curry is technically, I believe, the mildest of the curries. Pretty much has no spice at all, so it's a good option. The other one would be a massaman, is also generally very mild, but often if you sit in at a Thai restaurant and you order something that's known to have a bit of spice, they'll ask you if you want it spicy or not spicy, which is what we've opted for, the not spicy, with quite a few dishes so far.
That brings me back to the time in Bangkok, a previous video of ours where we did opt for the non-spicy version of a certain food. I think it got lost in translation and I almost died. If you'd like to see that video, we'll link it up there.
It's so delicious. So this is a yellow curry chicken. It's 90 baht, so super cheap. It's probably about $3, I guess, by calculating in my head. Yesterday we both got 2 curries to share with a Penang and a massaman, and they were delicious as well. Coke, 20 baht, which is like less than $1. Definitely recommend this place.
Well, that dinner was absolutely delicious. Highly recommend that place. But there's one last thing that we have to do. If you are a tourist in Thailand, it's a must do, and I'm very excited about it. It's such a tourist food, but you have to do it. Oh yeah, it's Roti time. So good.
Okay, so full breakdown of what we spent today. So breakfast was 280 baht, lunch was 260 baht, our entrance to Wat Chedi Luang was 100 baht, dinner was 180 baht, dessert was 100 baht, and our accommodation for the night was 833 baht. So in total it's 1,753 baht, or roughly $74.85 in Australian dollars. Pretty good. So that is all for today's video. We had an amazing day exploring the old town, and we hope you enjoyed seeing it as well. Make sure you stay tuned for part 2 and part 3 of our Chiang Mai series, because we're having such a good time here. If you want to see more exclusive content, check out the link to our Patreon in the description below. We'd love to have you, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.